Greetings of peace and love, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to this episode on 13scienceastrology.com. We're going to get into talking about a little bit of information pertaining to the matrix. And I want to cover the matrix based upon an astrological point of view, and to help people understand my views of the matrix based upon an astrological point of view. A lot of times when I get on these videos and I get to talking about the matrix or whatever, and I'm talking about either detaching from the matrix or people being in the matrix and all of that, people have to realize that I'm speaking on these things from an astrological point of view. Now, I have talked about how there's two different matrices. There's also two different matrices. Now, I'm not going to be really covering that. I might cover a little bit of information about that, but I did do a video on that for those people that are interested in that. But there is two different matrices. But to get you to understand the matrix from an astrological point of view, you have to first really understand cycles. You have to understand what's called rhythm to really understand the matrix. Now, the matrix, of course, I want to point this out first, it's an illusion. The matrix is an illusion. These cycles that we call cycles and these rhythms are all illusions. The things that we see happening to us over and over again and reoccurring events that happen in our life, they're all illusions. And they're basically here to teach us an experience. Now, according to the Mayans, the Mayan prophecies or whatever, and just the Mayans in general, they, first of all, I want to point out that the Mayans didn't call themselves the Mayans. I always point this out. The term Mayan probably is only no more than 200 years old. It goes back to like 1822, the term Mayan or whatever. So the term Mayan itself is not even what they called themselves. So when you start talking about the Mayan prophecies and the end of the world being on December the 21st, 2012, people have to realize that all of that's based around what people call the Mayan prophecies or whatever. But really, with the Mayans, or those people that really weren't Mayans, they were actually a group of Moors. Really what they were talking about, that particular group of Moors, as far as the end of the world in 2012, was really dealing with a particular cycle, as I pointed out here before. And there's different cycles. I mean, you have a sun cycle, you have a moon cycle, you have a Mars cycle, and then you have greater sun cycles, or what you would call sun cycles, and then you would call moon cycles. But a sun cycle would be like a period where we're in a sun cycle, it's usually like a period of like so many thousands of years where we're in a sun cycle. Then we'll go through a period of like 10,000 years where we're in what's called a moon cycle. So when the Mayans were dealing with that, as far as the end of the world and the shift and all of that, they're dealing with cycles and ages. And every time a planet or a body or any type of celestial body shifts from one degree to the next, or moves from one degree to the next, or moves from one energy to the next, that's called a shift. That's called a shift. So if you really want to understand the matrix, you first have to understand cycles to really like get into understanding the illusion, because the illusion is built around the cycles. The things that you see is the movement that really creates the illusion. And the only way to really like see past the illusion is to be able to move faster than the illusion, to see past it. It's just like Sister Yafa Bay, I like how she says, to be able to pierce the fog. So you want to be able to pierce the fog from like with your third eye, and to be able to see past the illusion. Now you wonder, how do you do that? You do that by essentially tapping into being able to move faster than the speed of light. All of these cycles are based upon light. Everything that we talk about in astrology is based upon light getting to this planet at different times, different types of light. Now there's different types of light. There's different types of energy. There's different types of rays. We call them rays, actually. The 7 rays, they call them in the occult. Now you have gamma rays, X-rays, light rays, you have radio rays, waves or rays, same thing or whatever, but you have different levels of energy or whatever, different levels of frequency. And sound is really the same thing as light. It's just that light is moving faster than sound, and that's what gives it the appearance that it has. So everything is based on how fast something is moving. So in astrology, we deal with that. So to first understand how to decode the matrix and how to move faster than it, you have to first understand light. You have to master light. And we live in what's called a holographic reality. Your brain is what makes this reality real. Basically, like when your brain pretty much resonates with this reality, that's when it becomes real. What I mean by that is that if I was to touch my arm, like, okay, I touch my arm like this, right? That's the reason, like when I touch my arm, the reason why I feel that is because of my brain. It has nothing to do with my arm. It has everything to do with my brain, because your brain is basically pretty much like a hard drive, but even deeper than that. But it's deeper than that. But it's definitely the component that powers it's pretty much like the processor that powers your whole existence, your whole being. You smell, taste, touch, all that goes back to your brain, your senses. So it was a time where beings, so you have to realize, like, consciousness goes past the brain. Consciousness is not limited to the brain. So the brain is actually a byproduct of consciousness. So when you start to, you got to really master the hologram, you have to first get out of your brain. You have to get out of your not your mind, but your brain. Get out of the state of relating to reality based upon your brain, because that's what most people do. You're like, well, I mean, you have to think and use your brain. Well, you don't really, thinking has nothing to do with using your brain. Your brain just processes the thought. When you think, these are basically decisions. Like every time you choose a thought, that's a decision that you're making, because thoughts are conscious. They're always out there. See, the realm of thought is another realm. And what I'm trying to get you to understand is that if you want to decode and how to hack into the matrix and how to basically beat the matrix and beat the agents in the matrix, you have to go into the realm of thought. You have to go past the speed of light. If you want to beat the beings that control the matrix, you have to go past the speed of light. The beings that control this, the way they're doing it is they're going in and out of this reality based upon moving faster than the speed of light. They figured out how to do this. And this reality is not a real time. We're in what's called like a pocket of time, or like a time warp. That's a better way of putting it. Especially since the Philadelphia experiment, which I'll do a video on. Since the Philadelphia experiment, we've been in a time warp. So we're in what's called a state of no time. And we've been in that time for a while now. Then on top of that, the quarantine has been lifted. So it's a lot of energies going on right now. It's a lot of energies going on right now. So by us existing in this state of no time, like by us existing in this pocket of time or whatever, it allows beings that exist in real time, because you have to realize when you leave this earth, you go into what's called real time. So what happens is when you leave this earth, if you were to leave this earth for a year and to come back a year later, you would actually be younger than what you would have been if you had stayed here for the whole year. Because when you go outer space or outside this particular dimension, you don't age. You don't age as much. So what happens is that these beings learn how to go in and out of this dimension, and that's how they manipulate this reality. And a lot of people are thinking that they're doing this with crafts and like metal ships and stuff like that, but you can't take metal and make it go faster than the speed of light. You can't bring that with you. I mean, it's basically too dense. Like metal is too dense to be able to make it vibrate faster than the speed of light, and to be able to take that with you to be able to travel in and out of time. So beings that you're seeing coming with ships and stuff like that, a lot of those beings, if they're having metal crafts, if that's what you guys are saying is metal craft type ships, those beings are not the beings that I'm speaking of here that are manipulating your reality. The beings that are manipulating your reality can travel past the speed of time, and they don't use ships. They do it with their actual bodies. These beings have been having their merkabas activated and been knowing how to take their bodies into different realities, into different dimensions. The way to get into this, and the reason why I'm talking about this, is because it's humans' turn now to be initiated into the higher order, so that you can learn how to go past light and go past these cycles. Because the reason why we're getting caught up into this illusion, or what the Mayans call, because the term Maya means illusion, and the Mayans call the matrix, or the same thing, an illusion, because the term Maya means illusion. So really what happened was that when that group that you call Mayans, they were a group of magicians, and basically the Maya rank was basically the rank of the magician. When they disappeared, their whole civilization disappeared. That's why they got the name of Mayans, because when researchers looked into their civilization, they couldn't find them. They were like, who are these great people that built this? Even the people that live there now aren't the original Mayans. The people that live there now bear witness that we aren't the original Mayans or whatever. We just studied their history or whatever. And so like when a lot of these shamans and stuff like that saying they're going to meet with the Mayans and stuff like that, they're not meeting with the original Mayans that map those cycles. See, they didn't come up with those calendars and those cycles. They're not meeting with those magicians, because those magicians, beloveds, went into the center of the earth. They beat time. They beat light. You know what I'm saying? They were able to move faster than light, and they tapped into the realm of thought. And they were able to beat the matrix. They were able to decode the matrix. See, the matrix is nothing but light, which is pretty much codes or numbers. Like, so when we start talking about light code transmissions, you have to, through a course of time, you have to upgrade or update your DNA so that it can begin to take on light particles in your DNA, so that it won't be based on, not light particles, but light waves, so that your DNA and your bodily structure won't be so much based on particles. Because like when you study, this is going to be a challenging concept to get you guys to understand, but it's a book called The Holographic Universe that you should get by I think it's Michael Talbert, I believe his name is. Don't quote me on the name or whatever, but it's called The Holographic Universe. It's a really good book because it talks about the difference between particles and waves, and how atoms start off as waves and they become particles when we look at them or when our consciousness is focused in on them. So essentially, if we're not putting energy into a thing, then it's just waves. When we put our energy into it or our attention into it, which is the same thing, then it becomes particles, because where attention goes, energy flows. That's what we teach in metaphysics. So where you would put your attention, that's where the energy flows. So what happens is that when you put your attention on something, the energy is emphasized there. So that's what makes the world real, is the fact that we believe it. It's really about belief, beloved. It's like we are really, the more you study quantum physics, the more you'll believe in magic. Like seriously, science is becoming more and more like magic the more you study like progressive science, because I mean a lot of quantum physics is not being really promoted. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people, like you guys didn't go to school. A lot of people didn't graduate from school and go to college. So you guys don't know nothing about quantum physics. A lot of people are still stuck in the theory of relativity and all of that type of stuff, and stuck in a lot of old scientific concepts, when science is now starting to merge together with a lot of the occult and metaphysics, as I teach here on this channel. Like, I mean, it's basically spirit science. It's basically like a spiritual science. And that's what has to happen in order for the age of Aquarius to come in, is that science and spirituality definitely have to merge or whatever. So within that, back to the point, you have particles and waves, particles and waves. So you put your attention there, that's when it becomes particles. So essentially the physical world only becomes real when you put your attention there. So how can you begin to manipulate and decode the matrix? You do this by, I always teach this, and I know people are like, man, how many times are you going to say it? I'm going to keep saying it. As long as people are not doing it. As long as people are not out there not doing it, I'm going to keep saying it. And you have to meditate. You have to meditate and go deep within yourself. Now, there's different degrees and stages of meditation. A lot of times people, if you're only meditating for like 30 minutes, you just now probably got started. Like you really can't usually get into a state of meditation unless you're really trained until about 30 minutes. It takes about 30 minutes to even get into that first state. And then you have to realize after that, there's 7 other states. Once you go into the initiate state of meditation, there's 7 other states that you can get into. And sometimes it takes hours to get into those states. But one of those heightened states, once you get really high, you get into what's called, you get into what's called the presence. You feel what's called the presence of a being. And pretty much when you feel the presence of a being in the state of meditation, and you know you're with a being, that's when you know that you're outside the pocket of time. When you get into that state of a presence of a being. And when you're inside that state of a presence, now when I say a presence, I know you guys are thinking like on a physical level, where you're thinking like I'm sitting in the company and it's a guy sitting next to me or whatever. Like, no, I'm saying you'll know that you feel the energy. Like, even though you're meditating, you feel that it's something around you. You're in a presence of a being. And once you know you're in a presence of a being, this is when you're outside of time, and you can now create. You can now create your reality. And you want to plan your reality through meditation. So once you get in that state of a presence of a being, you have to stay conscious and stay lucid. Stay conscious and lucid while you're in that state. You can plan your reality, because you're in the future. You're outside of time, so you can plan you can plan your future. You can even go back into the past if you want to, but you can plan your future. So you do that by just telling yourself what's going to happen. You ask, how do I plan it in that state? Once you're in that state, everything's programmable, because you're deep into the subconscious mind. This is the part of the mind where beings use to program you. See, this is the realm there. This is how deep they are, like in the matrix. Like they're on the part of the software where the programming aspect of it, what you call the subconscious mind. So if you want to decode that and to basically remove the viruses that have been put on your programming, you have to go deep into the present state of meditation and begin to change things there. You do it there or whatever. So once you fix things there, you plan things out how you want them to go, and you just tell yourself this is how it's going to go once you're in that state. And then you come back. It takes time. And those of you that know about meditation know what I'm talking about. It'll take time, and you'll come back. And then once you come back, you know what I'm saying, you'll see that. Now, when you come back, see, people wonder how come their attraction rituals and manifestation rituals and stuff like that isn't working. It's because when you come back, you have to wait. You have to give it time for it to play out. And a lot of times people aren't even, when they program their subconscious mind, they're not even doing it through meditation, because people don't watch The Secret and all these other quick, easy fix type of documentaries that came out back when the shift first started taking place in 2007 and 8. And they're just telling you all you gotta do is just put up some pictures on your wall and put around some stuff around your house, and that's how you're going to program your energy. That works. I'm not saying it doesn't work, because I've done that. That works. But I'm talking about you want like real results, deep results, and like I'm talking about on a deep level where you're really trying to shift your reality. You have to do that and attract through meditation, and send out energy through meditation, and plan through meditation. That's how you do it. That's the platform to where you do it. So when you come back, See, when you're in meditation, you're on the realm of thought. You're on a level of thought. So you're traveling at like 24 billion miles a second. Light only travels at 186,000 miles per second. So you're traveling really fast because you're on the realm of thought. You're traveling way past light. So that means you're way past where people are in the matrix or whatever when you're planning your reality. So you're planning stuff back. So you want to work your way back to your body. So you travel out, you go out, right? So you're all the way out there, and now you want to come back. You want to cycle back. And that's what, as you cycle back, you're planning. So you cycle back into your body, and then you come back into your body. You planned out how you want your reality to work. You're back into your body. And then you go out into the matrix, and your reality, you created your reality there, and you watch it manifest right before you. And that's how you work magic. Now, you have to have chi. You definitely have to have chi, because depending on the amount of chi you have will definitely determine how far you go with this thing. It's real deep or whatever. So yeah, the matrix is definitely an illusion, and it's definitely decodable. It's definitely decodable, but you first have to understand it. Even when you're meditating, like, people don't understand, like, if you don't really understand science and stuff like that, and understand cells and atoms and stuff, you can't really reduce yourself down to that atom in meditation, because you don't really even know what it is. Like, first you have to study exactly what an atom is. You want to reduce yourself back to that wave, because once you're back in that state of that wave, that's how you go into the higher realms and go into the future and travel and decode your reality. You do it from that level or whatever. So that's basically my definition of the matrix. Now, from an astrological point of view, let me go ahead and break it down from an astrological point of view. You have the sun. The sun is pretty much the chief or the guide, the chief planet that guides all the rest of the planets or whatever. Like, our sun is revolving around a greater sun, that Sirius sun. Like, our sun is revolving around the Sirius sun. And people don't realize that the sun is not sitting in the center and planets revolving around it like that. The sun is actually moving, and then planets are revolving around. Our planets revolve around the sun as it's moving. See, it's moving too. So, and the planets are following behind it as it's traveling somewhere. So the sun essentially is the leader. And if you want to learn how to, I guess you could say, go into the future to plan your reality even before meditation, you want to get deep into astrology. And what you want to do is that if you're planning something 3 months in advance, or you want something to happen in 3 months from now, because you got to put a time period on it and everything. So if you want something to happen in 3 months from now, you want to jump into the future by going first, by looking into the zodiac and seeing where the sun is going to be at 3 months in advance from the time where you're at. Now, some people do Western, some people do Eastern. I'm not going to stress that here. I mean, whether you're Western or Eastern or whatever, that's up to you, how you plan your rituals. I use Eastern 13 sign astrology because I feel like it's way more accurate, and I feel like the rituals work out better when I do it that way. But whatever, you want to tap into that energy 3 months in advance or whatever from where you're at. So say, for instance, you're in the time right now, and like, we're in the time right now, and it's Virgo season according to 13 signs astrology. So I use that for an example. We're in the season of Virgo. So 3 months from now, which would be 3 months from now would be January. So in January, we would be in Sagittarius. Like, around 3 months from now, we'll be in Sagittarius energy. So if I was doing a ritual that I wanted to plan something from 3 months from now, I would look at the energy of where the sun is going to be, or which particular constellation it's going to be in 3 months from now. And then when I go in my state of meditation, I work my rituals back. So I go from Sagittarius, then I go backwards, then I go into a Fucus, then I go into Scorpio, then I go into Libra, then I come back to Virgo. So I mentally do that, and I work with energies on each level or whatever as I come back, and I plan my steps accordingly based on those energies. So when I go forward, what I'm saying is this: when I go forward, I'm moving forward based off the energy of Virgo. When the sun goes into Libra, I transform into Libra, and I move forward as a Libra. When the sun moves into Scorpio, I transform to Scorpio. When the sun moves into a Fucus, I transform into a Fucus. Then when the sun moves into Sagittarius, I'm there. Now I'm at my goal, and I meet my goal as in Sagittarius. So you have to plan in the future based upon where the light is going to be. So the light, it may be in one place, but you have to go into the future where you know the light is going to be, so that when that reality is manifested here in the matrix, you'll be at where you plan to be at. And I've worked these rituals before, so I know what I'm talking about. And it takes time. You can get more and more precise with it and more better at it, because you can learn how to work and use the other planets too to work and to work in cahoots with you and work in these rituals and whatever. But essentially, you want to start off, it's just about planning, by becoming the light and moving ahead of the light, by traveling faster than the light, by becoming that thought, by moving in thought and playing in your head. See, like, great geniuses and great masters, they got to where they're at by like basically using their mind, like playing around with their mind or whatever, and playing in their head and creating different realities and scenarios in their head, and looking in the mirror while they're doing that and creating different reality scenarios in their head, and not really allowing themselves to believe the images that have been put on them by the illusionary matrix, or the reality, the so-called false reality. Because most people, they believe in what their brain tells them. They believe in what your brain tells you. Like, if your brain tells you you're ugly, then you believe that. If your brain tells you you're fat, you believe that. And your brain is only going to tell you things based upon what other people think. Because your brain is like pretty much receptive to the outside reality, the exterior reality, because the brain is only concerned with the outside world. So, and if you want to start dealing with attraction, you have to tap into the mind. The mind is past the brain. The mind is the mind programs the brain. So you have to go into the realm of the mind. And then even deeper into that, you have to go into the realm of thought, so that you're traveling faster. You have to go into where the thoughts are made, because where thoughts are made, which is a conscious reality, thoughts are made, it's called the plane of thought. Thoughts are made in a certain place, and you go there. That's where everything's programmed at. That's equivalent to the programmers and the website developers and people that program the internet and all of that. So you see the internet, but you don't see the behind the scenes. You don't see the programmers and all of that, you know what I'm saying, or in the web designers and all of that. And that's what I'm saying. You have to go into that reality and meet, though there's masters on that realm. There's ascended masters on that realm. You have to meet those masters or programmers and work with them. You know what I'm saying? They do certain initiations and certain rituals. And it takes a lot of spiritual work, what I'm talking about here. Because first you have to meet the master, then the master is going to come on the scene in your life, and he's going to, or she's going to ask you, or it's going to ask you to do certain initiations and rituals to basically be able to get to where you are, like, trying to mentally be at. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot when you're talking about attraction and manifestation, like on a deep level. Like what they taught you on A Secret is like really just giving you kind of like a way to tap into it. It's not even a method to tap into it. It's almost just like a lucky way to tap into it, really. It's like luck. Like sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. It's not consistent. It doesn't work all the time. And the reason why it doesn't work all the time is because if they would have taught you the long story, they knew that less people would have wanted to do it, because the long way to do it is it's a journey. It's a journey or whatever. You have to, it's going to be a series of failures. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be a lot of tests. Your energy is going to come back at you. You know what I'm saying? When you try to attract or whatever. So, but it's important to do it. The holographic matrix can be decoded. You're not limited to just where you're at physically right now. There is other realities out there for you. I suggest people study quantum physics. The information's out there, people. This world is definitely an illusion. The Mayans were right. The so-called Mayans were right or whatever. This is definitely an illusion, and we can go past it and through it or whatever. And the Mayans, they realized that. That's how they were able to go into the center of the earth, and that's how they were able to eventually make it back to Sirius. See, the Mayans made it back to Sirius. They made it back. The Sirius, or the beings on Sirius, created the illusion. They created the illusion. So when you start talking about you want to meet the programmers, and like in the Matrix, they talk about the architect. The Matrix was a deep movie. The Matrix was a deep movie. They talk about meeting the architect, and the architect is in Sirius. That's where the architect is at. And the architect is somewhere in Sirius, and people don't realize, like, man, these movies have jewels in them or whatever. So I could go through a whole another portion just talking about the Matrix or whatever, just from but I'm not going to do it because I know Sophia Stewart, the sister that wrote the Matrix or whatever, I mean, she definitely does a good job on different radio stations and stuff like that, talking about the metaphysics behind the Matrix, because of course we know the movie The Matrix was stolen from that sister. So it's just messed up how they do, you know, a lot of conscious people or whatever. So that's why we have to, like, as conscious people, be more so concerned with putting out our own materials, being more independent, and doing things instead of trying to take things to the majors and stuff. And I'm not saying she did that. I'm not saying she did that, because I know she did. She wrote it in the book format, and they came in and just took it or whatever. So I'm not saying she did that. I'm just saying we have to be more focused on making as much money as we can off our creations. That's all I'm saying or whatever. So, but the sister did a good job putting together that movie, man. And people don't realize with the Matrix has so many different levels. Like when you start talking about like agents, like, people don't even understand the whole concept of agents. Like a lot of that, what's going on in the Matrix is really telling you about how, like, you are a slave. You know what I'm saying? Like, you are controlled by this money, by this corporate fiction, by this shadow government. You know what I'm saying? You're a slave or whatever. So, and a person could be an agent of the Matrix even if they're not a willing participant. Like, even if they're not a willing agent, like they didn't sign off to be an agent on a contract, you can still be an agent if you're still doing the stuff that people do in the Matrix or whatever. So that's why the movie was deep, because like in the movie, Morpheus, which is another part, I'm going to talk about Morpheus too. He talked about, like, you can still be an agent whether you're plugged in or not. You know what I'm saying? So like basically, potentially anybody that's not plugged into them, I mean anybody that's not totally unplugged from the matrix is an agent. You know what I'm saying? And could try to take you down or whatever. So that's deep, and I like to point that out because that was like one of the themes of the movie. Like those are one of the themes of the movies is like you can't really be on both sides. Like that's why the conscious effort and conscious movement isn't working, because a lot of times people are like your teacher may be an agent, your guru may be an agent. You know what I'm saying? I got to point that out because you don't know who you're listening to. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people people don't know. I got friends in high places. Get a lot of information comes back to me, you know what I'm saying? And when I say friends in high places, I'm talking about on the spiritual realm. So I know a lot of times who a lot of these teachers are agents. A lot of these people out here leaving comments and stuff like that, they're agents for the matrix, man. Like people don't, you got to have it up here. And it's like a lot of times people are just willingly, they bend over willingly. Like people get fucked willingly. They become willing slaves like for this. Like it's crazy, man. But the whole movie, The Matrix, was deep. The whole character of Morpheus, the character of Neo, you got to look up those words. Like look up Morpheus. What is Morpheus? What is Neo? How come his name was Morpheus? How come Morpheus was a melanated character in the movie? How come Neo wasn't melanated? Why did they choose those characters in the movie? I mean, all of that's important or whatever. How come his name was Morpheus? See, you see the term more. You see the term more. You know what I'm saying? Because the Moors, see, they already knew. The Moors, they go way back or whatever. And as far as like when you start talking about consciousness and all of that, really the Moors are the zero time reference of consciousness, period. When you talk about the conscious movement, I'm talking about here in the belly of the beast, because we are in the belly of the beast. You know what I'm saying? Like here in North America. So I know you got England, and it's Moors in England too. You know what I'm saying? But here in the belly of the beast, though, you know what I'm saying? The Moors are definitely the zero time reference of the conscious movement. So that's why his name was Morpheus, and that's one jewel I point out. But I could do a whole video from my point of view of decoding the Matrix, but to me, it's just talking about the Matrix is definitely dealing with that control, that pyramid where the people at the top control the many at the bottom or whatever. That's the Matrix, and the only way out of it is to detach, to learn how to decode it, to learn how to travel into the future, to become spiritual, to let go of the lower self, because the Matrix is based upon your lower self. Remember the woman in the red dress? Remember that was based upon his desires. That's why the color red. The red resonates with the lower chakra. See, Neo was basically dealing with his lower chakra. He had to master that. Remember, he was going through mastery when he was going through those virtual images of the Matrix, because he was getting ready for what the agent was going to bring at him for real. Because when you get up here and you start teaching and all of that, that's when the real live drama comes at you. Like they really will try to take you out. You know what I'm saying? When they know that you know. So don't think, you know what I'm saying, you hear me on these videos and think this shit is sweet. Like, you know what I'm saying, to think it's easy to do this, because it's definitely not easy to do this, because they come at you and you have to become a master. You have to become a master. But, you know, when you're into the occult, it comes with the territory, you know what I'm saying? So it comes with the territory. And if you truly are walking your path, your higher path, there's no evil. There's no such thing as evil. There's only good. And we know this because even so-called evil is only there to teach a lesson. So no one can do anything to you that's evil. There's only good. There's only lessons that you have to learn here in this Matrix. So it all turns out to be good. And that's what you learn when you get initiated to the higher orders. Like you start talking about the order of Melchizedek, which I'm going to do a video on really soon. I mean, you learn that there's no evil, only good. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video's brief episode on decoding the Matrix and how to attract, and basically how to change your reality through your mind. So I hope that helped. And for more enlightening information, I ask that you visit my website at 13soundsastrology.com. And until we meet again, I'll leave you all in. Peace.